Today we're going to learn how to do mosaic knitting with these beautiful triangles here. Mosaic knitting is basically a way to do color work without holding two colors in the same row. Basically, you're going to work with one color, a right side and a wrong side, and then work with another color, a right side and a wrong side. When you're knitting with one color, you're going to slip the other color. And every 4 rows you work really equals 2 rows of knitting. The yarn is always carried on the wrong side, and you must carry it very, very loosely in mosaic knitting. In this swatch, we're going to break a few mosaic knitting rules. First of all, we're not going to alternate our colors at the edge. Instead, we're just going to pick up our color wherever we need to knit it. We're also going to make some pretty long 5-stitch floats. It's really important to keep these floats super loose or it will affect the quality of the products that you are making. I'm going to give you some tips on keeping your floats really, really loose, but I definitely suggest completing this practice swatch before you attempt knitting the shawl. We're going to knit from this triangle chart included in the shawl pattern. All of the mosaic patterns are written and charted when you purchase the pattern. You can see that there are color indicators here on the sides, but these are not stitches, they're just telling you which color to knit with in that row. You can think of mosaic rows in pairs. With one color, you'll knit the indicated stitches and then slip the other color with your yarn and back. Then you'll come back across on the wrong side, knitting the exact same stitches, but taking care to slip the yarn in the front. You can also think of these rows in quads because on the next 2 rows, you're going to work with the other color. You're going to knit the indicated stitches and then slip the ones that we worked in the rows before. Every 4 rows, we're going to change the pattern slightly. This is not traditional mosaic knitting, so pay very close attention. I'm going to use this blue color as my base and my background, and the gold will be my triangles. To begin, cast on 26 stitches with your background color and then knit 4 rows in garter stitch. Alright, my 4 rows are all done, and no, your eyes are not fooling you. I did switch to double pointed needles just to make it a little bit easier to manipulate the stitches and show you guys, but you can use circular needles perfectly fine. Okay, let's get started on our mosaic triangle chart. So we're going to pretend these first 3 stitches are our I-cord edging. So we're just going to slip them because they are blue and we're about to work with gold. Then we're going to slip 1 more according to our chart, and then we're going to start our repeat, which is knit 5 with gold, slip 1 with yarn and back. So I'm going to add in my gold yarn here, and then I'm going to knit 4 more with that gold yarn. So already you can see I'm starting out the base of my triangles. And then I'm going to slip the next stitch purlwise with my yarn and back, and I'm going to repeat that. Knit 5 and slip 1 with yarn and back. When I carry across this 1 stitch, this is not a difficult one to carry. Just make sure you're carrying it pretty loosely because we don't want to start out with a tight start to our mosaic knitting. So 5 more, and then I kind of like to spread my stitches out to slip that stitch. It will become more important when we have more stitches that we're slipping. Knit 5 more and slip 1 to end that repeat. Then slip 1 more and slip 3 at the end. So now we're going to turn around and we're going to work all of these gold stitches again. We're going to knit them because this is garter mosaic knitting. And we're going to slip all of the same stitches. But when we slip those stitches this time, we need to slip with our yarn in front because we are on the wrong side. So you're just going to slip all those edge stitches until we get to our gold. And then you're going to take your yarn in between the needles and to the back so that we're ready to knit. And go ahead and knit 5. And then when we slip the stitches on the wrong side, we're going to bring our yarn front and slip with the yarn in front. This way, the yarn always carries on the wrong side. I find that it's kind of harder to keep my floats really loose on the wrong side rows. I think because you're going back and forth between knitting and then bringing your yarn to the front and slipping. Just make sure you keep things really, really nice and loose, especially when we get to those rows where we have those 5-stitch carries. So I'm at the end of my row. I'm going to go ahead and place my yarn back in the front, slip all the way back to the beginning, and then we will begin on the next row of the chart. So we've just finished rows 1 and 2, which were worked only in gold, and you can see now that I have a 3rd garter ridge here. So now we're going to work 2 more rows where we're only working the blue stitches, and that's going to give us that same level of row ridge here. So go ahead and we're going to knit the first 3. That's our I-cord edging. Knit 1 more, and then we're going to start our repeat. This is going to be a slip 5 and knit 1. So you have to be extra careful to keep those floats really loose. So slip all 5 of those stitches. And then you can see my stitches are pretty scrunched up here. If I carry over to do my next knit stitch, I'm going to have a bunched up shawl. So what I like to do is just spread my stitches out really, really wide, go into that next stitch and make sure I carry super nice and loose across there. Then I'm going to slip 5 more, spread my stitches out really nice and loose, and then knit that 1 blue stitch here. 1 more time. Spread those stitches out, and then carry your yarn across. Knit 1 more, and then this time we're going to actually make the continuation of I-cord, bring your yarn forward, and slip 3 with the yarn in front. Okay, so now we're going to do the 4th row, which will complete our sort of quad, 2 rows of gold and 2 rows of blue. So turn around. We're going to start with knit 3, which is our I-cord edging. Knit 1 more stitch. Sorry, 2 more stitches. And now we are at our repeat again. So since we're on the wrong side, of course, we need to bring our yarn forward in order to carry it. And we're still slipping those stitches purlwise. Now it's even more important to make sure you are nice and loose on these wrong side rows. It can be really hard to keep things spread out. So spread those out really, really nice. Make sure you're nice and loose when you carry. You can even keep your fingernail or something underneath it so that you don't make things too tight. Knit that stitch. Bring your yarn forward again to slip. Now if you're someone who does that extra pull on your stitches when you finish them, you'll have to break that habit for mosaic knitting, or else you're going to turn out with something that's way, way, way too tight, and it will affect the shape of your entire shawl. So I'm just slipping those gold stitches, spreading them out, carrying them, giving myself a little extra wiggle room with my fingernail, and I'm at the last 3, so I'm going to slip 3 with the yarn in front. So we've just worked 4 rows, and it feels like you don't have a whole lot to show for it. Really, we just have the 1 garter ridge here to show for our 4 rows. Rows 1 and 2 created the gold garter ridge. Rows 3 and 4 created the blue garter ridge. Now that we have the base of our triangle, our next 4 rows are all going to focus on making the middle of our triangle, which is just 3 stitches wide. So I'm going to follow on with the chart and just go over a few tips and pointers here and there. So now I'm ready to work a gold row, row 5, and so I'm going to slip all of these blue stitches until I get to my gold. Now my repeat this time is going to be slip 1, knit 3, those 3 center, and then slip 1 and slip 1 of the blue. So go ahead and slip that first gold, and then you're going to knit 1, 2, 3 in the center of that triangle, slip one more, and then of course slip the blue one. All right, now I'm on to my next triangle, so I'm going to slip that one. Make sure I spread way out so when I carry my yellow across it doesn't make anything tight. Knit 1, 2, 3, and then essentially I'm going to slip the next 3. 1, 2, 3, and of course spread way out. Knit 3, and then slip until the end. I'm back on the wrong side for row 6. And I'm only going to knit the stitches that I knit before. So I'm going to slip that first gold one, knit 3. Then of course I need to carry on the wrong side, so bring my yarn forward and slip 1, 2, and 3. Spread those out really well so that I can get a loose carry to knit the next 3. And then slip 3 again. And I'll meet you guys back for the next right side row. So you're probably thinking that things look a little funny right now, and you are right. We are kind of in between our quad rows. So we've only done the 2 rows of gold. We haven't done the subsequent 2 rows of blue that will even things out. So all of these little stitches on the outsides of the triangle are looking funny right now, and that's because we're about to knit them in blue. That's really the magic of mosaic knitting. So go ahead and knit your 3 edge stitches. Knit one more, and then we'll start our repeat. This time we're going to knit 1, slip 3, knit 3, slip 3, knit 3, slip 3. Okay, so I'm going to knit this stitch. The magic is not going to come together till I do a wrong side row. Slip those 3, I knit them on the last time, and then knit 3. Make sure I spread things out. Slip 3, spread them out, and knit 3. I'll meet you on the wrong side. The nice thing about the wrong side row is you really just can follow along with the colors that you knit on the right side row. So I know that every gold stitch on the wrong side, since I'm using blue, I am going to slip, and every blue stitch I am going to knit. Just take care again to keep those floats really nice and loose, and of course keep them on the wrong side. All right, you can really start to see the triangle taking shape now. Now that we've done the blue rows that pair with these gold rows, it's starting to look a little more triangle-ish. We just have 4 more rows to go, 2 rows in gold to make the tip of our triangle, and then 2 rows in blue to finish things out. So I'm going to go ahead and work that gold row where I am just doing the center of the gold stitch. Make sure when you slip those other 5 stitches, you're keeping things very, very loose. Just 2 more rows to go, and it's a blue row to balance out these funky looking gold stitches. So go ahead and work that blue row, and I will meet you back here. All right, that is it. We've done all 12 rows of our mosaic knitting. Now, if you're thinking it still looks a little wonky, you can stretch it out with your fingers. Another thing that will help is when we work 4 more garter rows in blue to let all of those stitches drop into place. See, just 2 more rows and it is better already. Now remember that mosaic knitting is not like garter knitting where I have this is 2 rows and this is 2 rows. Each ridge is really going to be 4 rows because I've got the 2 rows that I worked here, and then its partner 2 more rows that I worked here. So rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but they go together, 9, 10, and 11, 12. And then of course I worked a traditional garter row up here. Just keep that in mind. Mosaic knitting does take a little bit longer because you're basically working each row twice, but it is so nice not to have to do that 2-handed color work and carry those floats on the wrong side. I cannot stress enough to keep those floats really, really loose, especially since in this shawl we are not doing traditional mosaic knitting. Most times you would not work 4 rows where the same stitches are being slipped and knit. So just make sure you keep those extra loose. It's going to be kind of firm anyway, and if it's tight in any way, you will definitely have some cinching on your shawl. All right, that is all there is to it. If you are interested in mosaic knitting and you would like to download the pattern, just look for the link in the description box below. Happy knitting!